Imagine a car that actually helped you along your wealth creation journey instead of breaking the bank. Whether you've just graduated and need a simple, reliable car, or got promoted into middle management with a growing family, or perhaps you're already a top executive who wants to invest smartly, this video will save you thousands of rands. So without wasting any of your time, let's dive straight into the biggest mistakes that people make when buying a car and how to turn your vehicle ownership experience into a wealth creation machine. Car Talks: Power, Precision, Performance. The reality is that transportation is essential for work, school runs, groceries, and many more, and the associated costs are unavoidable. Whether you drive your own vehicle or use public transit, it's one of the largest household expenses. In South Africa, households spend an average of 15% of their monthly budget on transportation, which is the third largest expense category after food and housing, according to Stats SA. So with that in mind, here are 10 smart strategies that will help you minimize your vehicle ownership costs and free up more money for your wealth creation ambitions. Number 10 will utterly blow your mind, so you really want to stick around for that one. Number 1 is depreciation, which is defined as an asset's loss in value over time. Now, if that's not so easy to comprehend, here's a visual example.
Oh, look at the money, look at the money. Throwing more money out of the car. Whoa, look at that.
Simply put, your vehicle loses value every single day as you drive it. In fact, even if you don't drive it, most vehicles will still depreciate, apart from rare exceptions which we can get into in another video. Market factors such as demand and supply for a particular make and model, together with non-market factors such as service history and your individual vehicle's physical condition, mean that no two cars will depreciate at the same rate. According to CarWow, a vehicle typically loses between 15 and 35% of its value in year 1, and another 10 to 15% over years 2 and 3. After about 10 years, especially if it's been well maintained, the depreciation curve begins to flatten out. Because of this, the sweet spot for buying a used car is actually at the end of year 3, as it's already taken a big hit in value but still has plenty of life left, especially if it's still under motor plan. The second best time to buy is at the end of year 1 because it loses up to 35% in value, the highest for any single year. To make it more practical, 4 years ago we bought a BMW 320i M Sport as an 8-month-old demo for 709,900 rands, when at that time a brand new example was retailing for 912,800 rand. So in actual fact, we saved about 200,000 rands or 22% in depreciation. Stay tuned for a separate video on the due diligence required to mitigate the risks of buying a second-hand car. And before we go to number 2, let's just listen to this Golf R for no reason at all. At number 2 is the financing decision. Now, if you can afford to finance your vehicle through cash, then that is phenomenal. However, data and statistics have shown us that not a lot of South Africans have the financial muscle to do that. And so in this particular case, it means that we need to be smarter about the way in which we interact with debt. According to the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers of South Africa, or simply NAMSA, South Africans bought over 350,000 new passenger vehicles in 2024 at an average price of 490,000 rands, or about 172 billion in total. 80% of that, or 138 billion, was financed through loans or other leasing options, and unfortunately, the interest burden falls on us, the consumers. So to minimize those interest costs as far as humanly possible, maintaining a strong credit score is of paramount importance, and you can do this by paying for all your unsecured debts, such as credit cards, personal loans, or clothing accounts, on time and keep the balances low relative to the approved limits. This will earn you better rates when it's time to buy that house or car and save you hundreds of thousands of rands. A bonus tip on financing: if you're a medical doctor or work in fields such as finance, engineering, and IT, to name a few, then you may qualify for private banking services, which give you access to preferential interest rates. For other professionals who may not necessarily be within these professions, normal annual income rules will apply. Different banks, of course, have different requirements, so it's best to speak to your own bank about its requirements. Another way to benefit from reduced interest rates is through employment with a bank, but it's my understanding that this is not an automatic process for most banks. So if you're working for a bank, it may be worthwhile to assess your entire credit portfolio to ensure that all your credit products are with the same bank with whom you're employed in order to benefit from the staff rates. Number 3 is patience. So waking up and deciding, oh, I need a new car on a whim isn't best practice and can strain your budget long term. Preparations to buy your first car should start much earlier than that. For most South Africans, the journey begins when you leave university, get your first job, and get your first taste of credit through clothing accounts and cell phone contracts. So your ability to maintain and repay these small unsecured loans over a prolonged period of time shapes whether you'll qualify for vehicle financing in the future, and more importantly, at what interest rate. And the final piece of this is that even if you do have a good credit score and a target vehicle in mind, it's always prudent to shop around and negotiate. For instance, this 2023 BMW X5M was listed in November 2024 at 2.3 million rands. 6 months later, it's down to 2,050,000. And that's a 250,000 rand drop without you having to negotiate. This is because a vehicle that has been parked on the dealership floor for a prolonged period of time is like a hot potato, with costs racking up such as depreciation, insurance, valet and detailing, etc. And so they're dying to get rid of it, and that could be your moment to cash in on a really good deal. Number 4 is know your budget in totality and not just the targeted monthly repayment that you want to achieve, because this will empower you to have a more significant discussion with the dealership, such as, my total budget is 500,000 rands, and not, I can afford 10,000 rands per month, because the reality is that dealerships can stretch any deal to match your salary. They could even sell you a Boeing 747 aircraft for 5,000 rands a month with a 100 million balloon payment. So always focus on the total price. Speaking of balloon payments, that takes us to number 5. A balloon payment is essentially a lump sum of money that is due at the end of a loan term, which you can either settle in cash or refinance. In our made-up examples, assuming you were to borrow 100,000 rands in vehicle finance over 5 years at the current prime interest rate of 10.75%. By the way, our repo rate just went down by 25 basis points, so shout out to the Reserve Bank for that. These mortgage bonds are killing us. Anyway, back to our examples. Option A assumes that you take out this finance with no balloon payment, and option B assumes that there is a balloon payment, which usually varies between 5 and 40%. But in our specific example, let's just say you took out a 30% balloon. So as you can see in option B with the balloon payment, instead of amortizing the full 100,000 rands over the 5 years, the bank will structure your payment such that only 70,000 rands is paid off via monthly installments, therefore keeping your monthly installment lower. Sounds like a great deal to me because I'm paying lower monthly installments, right? Wrong, because there's a catch. The final 30,000 rands is payable as a lump sum at the end of the contractual period. Or you can choose to refinance this over an agreed upon period. That just basically means that you're married to the car because kunini padal. It's important to note that your interest expense is calculated on the full 100,000 rands, which then increases your interest expense over the loan term because the capital balance is reducing at a much slower rate. Option A without a balloon payment will increase your monthly installments but will save you thousands in interest over the loan term. Now, our example was only based on a 100,000 rand loan, but imagine the savings on a 1 million rand loan or a 2 million rand loan. Number 6 is short and sweet, and that is carpooling, which is fantastic, especially if you have colleagues who live in your neighborhood. You could start a lift club and commute together, and that'll save you some bucks on depreciation, wear and tear, and the associated maintenance costs. Some of these tips may result in small and incremental savings, but in totality, It all adds up. Number 7, service costs. In December of 2020, the Competition Commission of South Africa published its Automotive Aftermarket Guidelines, which came into effect on the 1st of July 2021. These guidelines directly address practices around motor vehicle servicing and the protection of full service history records. Under these guidelines, every service must be recorded in the vehicle's service history. This ensures that owners can maintain a complete digital or stamped service log regardless of where they choose to have the work performed. For as long as the independent workshop is accredited, you don't need to service your vehicle at the OEM dealerships anymore. Shout out Mambo Repairs. Number 8 is insurance, and this one is pretty simplistic to do. And what I do is that on the anniversary of the policy, I call my insurer's retention department and ask for a repricing of the policy, because the logic is that if your car's retail value is falling annually, it's only logical for your premiums to follow suit. I do this once annually and it works wonders. The counter argument that your insurer might use is that vehicle repair costs increase annually due to inflation, which is a fair remark. However, your insurer's total exposure to your vehicle is limited to the retail value of the car. So if that falls annually, so does their total exposure to the insured product. So at that point, you can simply shop around with other insurance houses and you'll be very surprised how quickly your insurance house is willing to reduce your premiums to match the competition. Number 9, vehicle taxes. Many jurisdictions around the world actually tax vehicles annually based on their CO2 emissions and other criteria, including but not limited to vehicle value. For instance, in the UK, cars with a list price over £40,000 when new incur an additional vehicle excise duty, often referred to as luxury car tax. This was introduced in the UK in April of 2017, so it's currently in its 8th year since implementation. And in my opinion, this threshold requires a slight upward revision because even budget cars are creeping up to the £40,000 mark lately. Nevertheless, taxes are something to consider for your next purchase. And finally then, for the moment we've all been waiting for, number 10 is, drumroll please, not using 100% of your approved credit limits. Different banks have different risk appetites when awarding vehicle finance. Some cap vehicle finance repayments at 20% of net salary, others up to 30% of gross salary. In a nutshell, the total loan value that you get from a particular bank significantly depends on your affordability as the individual. However, there's another significant consideration that banks make, and that is their own internal risk appetite, which has nothing to do with you as the consumer. In other words, Bank A can give you a loan of up to 100,000 rands, while Bank B can only give you a loan of up to 50,000 rands. That begs the question that, well, what's my actual affordability then? Is it 50,000 or is it 100,000 rands? And unfortunately, that's homework that you need to do with your financial advisor to protect yourself. But a key takeaway point to remember is that all your outstanding debt balances are considered together when applying for new credit. For example, an overexposure on your car loan or unsecured debt such as credit cards ultimately reduce your affordability assessment when it's time to buy a house, i.e. your home loan. So if you take out the maximum loan that the bank is willing to give you on your car, then you might not qualify for the house you've always wanted because the bank sees you as being overextended on another asset. This is a key consideration, especially if you're considering getting married and starting a family. Now let's turn this into a practical, workable example. So about 4 years ago, we were pre-approved to buy a car worth 1.2 million rands, but we chose to buy a car worth 700,000 rands instead, so that we can buy the house that we actually wanted in a nice neighborhood with a double garage. And I think that this is a really practical principle that we can all take away and apply at any stage of our lives. Personally, the type of person that I am is that even if I'm able to afford a Lamborghini Urus in the future, I would probably still buy a Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT and then do something more meaningful with the savings. But if you'd rather buy a BMW M3 and live in a one-bedroom apartment in Midrand, I'm not gonna stop you because at the end of the day, this is not financial advice after all. You can't drive a house, but you can definitely sleep in a car. Ha ha. Now, I do appreciate that some of these tips and topics are intricate and nuanced, so I will definitely be making individual videos on some of them later on so that we can get much deeper into the conversation. But let me know in the comments which ones you'd like me to elaborate on. That brings us to the end of this video, and let me know what car buying mistakes you've done in the past so that we can continue with the learning process. And if you've enjoyed this episode, then do leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe so that we can continue delivering these gems free of charge. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.